Welcome, everybody. Welcome on TikTok. Welcome on YouTube. It's good to see everybody, guys. I hope you're having a great day. I know it's tough with everything that's going on, but hopefully you personally are having a great day. We're going to give it a minute for everybody to join here. Oh, goodness. What a day. I mean, what a day. If you're trying to do your regular job like I am and follow the news to see what's going on, it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time. But you do what you can. You do what you can. I know it's tough, Karen. It's really tough to watch what's happening, especially in our country. I'm going to share some thoughts on that in just a minute. Hey, Vanessa, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Guys, we're doing the same thing with it we've done for the last couple of lives. It seems to be working really well. I've got a little bit different camera set up here so that those of you that are on TikTok don't feel like you're being left out as much. But we're broadcasting on both platforms, broadcasting on YouTube and TikTok, and we've really just had our audiences go through the roof by doing this. So we're going to continue to do that until we know what's going to happen with with TikTok. But hi, Ani, good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, Jay, thanks for coming in. Hey, Sue. We're just going to give it a minute, guys, for everyone to join, and then we're going to jump right into it. We've got a lot to talk about again tonight. And, it just never ends. It's a cavalcade every day of additional dipshittery that is cast upon us, and we've got to break through it all. But I want to spend a pretty significant amount of time today, just because this has just hit me really hard, what's happening with Abreu Garcia. And I want to spend a lot of time today at the beginning, especially telling you his personal story. And then I spent some time on the phone today with a good friend of mine who is a constitutional law expert. And I want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of what's happening in the Supreme Court. Because I had a little bit of a misunderstanding there in regard to what this appeal meant and what it meant when it went to the Supreme Court and what the Supreme Court ruled and that type of thing. And I had a great conversation today with them. And I want to kind of walk through that and clarify a little bit of that as well. Ori, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really good. Yeah, it's hard to watch the news, but we have to. I mean, I know I don't want to downplay what Garcia is going through at all. But I was thinking about this today. I spent a little time up on the farm this morning, and I was like, "This is the least we can do, right? Is endure the bullshit, so that we can fight to make sure that the right thing happens for him, and to prevent the same thing from happening to a lot of other people, including people who were born here and United States citizens, because we all heard the comments, when the president thought the mic was off, build more prisons because we're going to go after the homegrown people next. And we know the plan now. We knew the plan all along, but when you hear him say it out loud, it just makes it even more clear that we've got to fight like hell to prevent these things from happening. And I'll tell you guys, it's a scary time. But you know what? The only thing that outweighs my fear right now is my anger at what's happening and the feeling that, by God, we're not going to let them take our country away from us. That's where I am. And I think a lot of you are there as well. I think a lot of you are there as well. And I've got a lot of different ways I want to break this down today, guys. I've got a lot of different ways I want to break this down today. So I'm going to do what I always ask you to do. And for those of you that might be following us anew on YouTube, I want you to get out your back 40 notebooks today, okay? Because I'm going to give you some facts that you can take with you away from the live, so that as you're talking about this, as you're making your phone calls, as you're sending your emails, etc., I want to give you some tangible facts that you can use to go fight this and to get your point across. Because it's critical that we win this battle. As much as it's about Garcia and what's happening to him and what's wrong, it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And there is an old quote, and it takes many different forms. Okay, it takes many different forms. It exists in almost every single religion. It has been said more than once by many different politicians and leaders throughout history, but it goes something like this: the way we treat the least among us is the true judgment, the true narrative of who we are as a people. And I feel in my heart of hearts and deep in my gut that if we turn our back on Abreu Garcia, if we just let him disappear into the darkness because it doesn't impact us yet, then we're going to reap what we sow in the long run. We're going to reap what we sow in the long run. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Jacob, we're going to have some farming content too, but we do a hell of a lot more than that here on the Back 40. It's not just about farming content, but we are going to do a lot more of that because we're getting into our planting season. So just hold tight. But right now, I got to be honest with you. The destruction of our democracy and our Constitution is a little bit more important to me right now than filming myself putting elderberry cuttings in the ground. And I'm not saying that to dismiss you or to be mean, but our focus needs to be where our focus needs to be. That's the bottom line. So we're going to get busy here. We're going to talk about all these things. I want to encourage you guys, get out there this Saturday. Get into those protests. I'm going to go to Jefferson City this weekend, bad hip and all, and I'm going to be speaking at an event in Jefferson City, Missouri, the state capital of Missouri. We're going to get up there. We're going to get up on that bum leg, and we're going to talk to people about what's happening and get them fired up about fighting back. That's what we're going to do. And I know you guys aren't going to give up. Nobody on the Back 40 is going to give up. I want to start out. I just did a video about this and posted it right before we started the live, so you may not have had an opportunity to see it yet, okay? And that's all right. But I'm going to tell you about it. I just want to tell you what my thoughts were when I saw this today. I'd love to see it in the comments. You can throw a blue heart in there if you're on TikTok, or put whatever you want in the comments on YouTube. I'm not sure what all of the icons are yet. But did anyone else besides me see the press conference with Garcia's wife? Have you had an opportunity to see that, where she thanked the people of the United States of America for coming out to defend her husband? And she pleaded with the United States government to do the right thing. And it's hard not to get emotional with some of this, but she also gave a shout out to her husband and said, "Hey, we love you. We haven't forgotten about you. If there's any way, shape, or form that you can hear us, just know that we're fighting for you every day, that your children are asking about you." And I got to tell you guys what my first thought was. I mean, other than the sadness of watching, what was happening, my first thought was this resembled a video that someone would have done during the War on Terror if their loved one, maybe a reporter, husband or child or wife, had been taken off the streets of Afghanistan or some other country like that. This reminded me of a video that their family would do to plead with the people that took them. Don't hurt the person we love. Bring back the person we love. What are your demands? What do we need to do? We love them. We'll do anything to keep them safe. Please don't hurt them. Here's who they are as a person. That's what it reminded me of. I don't know if it reminded any of you of that. But when I saw it, it reminded me this is a person who's pleading for the life of the person they love, similar to these videos we used to see back in the day during the War on Terror. And then, I don't know, just like a wave of cold water. I don't know if you've ever, at the beginning of summer, if you've ever gone to the lake and you've jumped into the lake and the water's still cold, even though it's hot outside. Or you've jumped in that swimming pool for the first time, even though it's hot outside, and that wave of cold water hits you. That's what it felt like for me, personally. It was a physical reaction. It was a physical reaction that she wasn't making a video about a terrorist organization somewhere. She wasn't making a video about a group of extremists that had grabbed her husband off the streets. Well, maybe she was. She was making a video about the government of the United States of America and about something that's happening in our country right now. That hit me hard. It really did slap me in the face. It was like a brick wall. I don't know why my mind went in that direction. I don't know why I thought that first, but it's exactly what it reminded me of. I hope I'm communicating it effectively, what I felt and what it reminded me of, because it's our country we're talking about. This is somebody making this video similar to a video that would be made if their loved one had been yanked off of the street in Iran and held for years. But it's not Iran. It's not Russia. This is happening in the United States of America. And that hit me hard. And it fired me up even more. It fired me up even more that we've got to continue to fight and do the things that we need to do to win this fight, to win this battle, to save our government, save our Constitution. And all of this is happening, guys. All of this is happening. I don't know if you saw the video I made last night. I was so damn angry. But all of this is happening in an environment where these grinning Cheshire cat bastards in the White House are grinning and smiling and joking and laughing and lying about what they're doing. Lie after lie after lie after lie. It's the same thing that they did with government institutions. Lie about what they're doing, lie about the people that work there, demonize them, berate them, belittle them, degrade them. And that establishes an environment where the people just stand by and do nothing when you go to cancel and destroy and disassemble those entities in government, because you've convinced the people that they're not doing any good. And now they're doing the same thing with people by lying about him. Well, I'm going to tell you the truth tonight about who he is, because the facts are easy to find if you care at all about doing it. He was born and he grew up to the age of 15 in El Salvador. And his family owned a business there, and they're good people. Anybody that's talked to the folks that, were around them when they grew up, you can find article after article after article that tells the story about what happened to them. They owned a business. They were entrepreneurs, something we praise in this country, something that we place on a pedestal in this country. And regardless of all the bad things that were happening around them, they were trying to build a legitimate business to support their family instead of falling into the mass disarray of the gangs and all the other things that happened there. There were many, 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 many different ways they could have tried to support their family that were wrong, that were illegal, that would have endangered the lives of others. But they chose to open a food business and to do it the right way. And then here come the gangs. Just like they used to do here in the United States of America, knocking on the door. If you want to have a business, if you want things to stay the way they are, if you don't want things to disappear in the night, if you don't want to be harmed, you've got to pay us a fee. And they refuse to do that. They refuse to do that. Think of the courage that takes. Think of the courage that takes. And it didn't stop there, guys. They threatened to sexually assault his sister and his mother if they didn't pay these bribes to these gangs. I don't know how to say this. I don't know the right way to say this next part without, I got to figure out a way to say it without endangering the live. But just imagine if the worst possible thing that could happen to you in regard to a crime happened to you. Hang on, guys. Sorry. Just imagine if the worst possible thing happened to you in regard to a crime that could possibly happen to you. And then imagine if the prosecutor of that crime came to you and said, not only can we do nothing about it, but we're going to accuse you of being a part of the people that carried out this heinous act against you. So just imagine what he's dealing with and imagine what his family's dealing with. Because the whole reason he came here to this country, the entire reason he came here to this country is because he wasn't a member of these gangs. These gangs were threatening him. They were threatening to assault his sister, his mother, to unalive his family. And yet the government of the United States and these grinning Cheshire cat bastards in the White House are accusing him of being one of the people that he fled his country to get away from, who were threatening to unalive his family and take all of the benefits of their business. Guys, don't take my word for it. Go out there and look this stuff up. It's there. His entire family history is listed out there in reputable articles from reputable news organizations. It takes 15 minutes of reading to learn his story. Yet there are so many damn people on social media, even the people that support him, that haven't taken the time to learn about who he is. You need to do that. It's an assignment, all right? It's a back 40 assignment. Just read about him. And then he gets here, okay? Then he gets here to the United States of America. And yes, there were some things that the courts have denied him here. But the one thing the courts did not deny him, the one thing that they ruled in his favor on, is that he would not be sent back to El Salvador, because it was very clear based on the evidence that if he did, his life and the life of his family could be put in danger. He met somebody here. He fell in love with her. They had a child together, a child with serious autism. Another child, her child, with autism. And the other child with serious asthma. All three kids have health issues. What does it tell you about the character of this man? That immediately he went down, signed up to become a union worker, and became an apprentice in a union program so he could make life better for himself, for his wife, and not only for his child, but for his two stepchildren as well. I know very few men who would step up to the plate like that, and it tells me everything I need to know about him as a person. And then Joseph Goebbels wannabe, Stephen Miller, stands up in the White House and goes on television stations all over America telling people that he was a gang member. And do you know where they got that information? Do you know where that came from? Do any of you know where that came from? It came from an informant in New York City that lied as an informant and said he was a part of MS-13 when in reality he never even lived in New York. This person didn't interact with him. Garcia didn't live there. It was a fabrication to be able to provide information to law enforcement so that this guy could get a break. And that's what they're hanging their hat on. That's what they're hanging their hat on. That is what they're hanging their hat on, is a lie from an informant in a city where Garcia never lived. All of this is easily documented. All you got to do is go look. It happens all the time. I mean, good God, you can't open up a documentary station without seeing stories all the time of snitches that lie about innocent people to get a better deal. And this is what they're hanging their hat on. And what I can't get out of my mind, guys, what I can't get out of my mind as a man and as a citizen of this country, And I know this is privilege coming into play here, but if I can't stand up and make the case for people who can't make it for themselves, then I don't deserve the rights I've got. I just think about him being pulled over and pulled out of his vehicle and begging and pleading and making his case. I'm not one of them. I came here because of them. They threatened my family. They threatened my sister. They threatened my mother. They threatened my father. They threatened my brother. I came here to this country for a better way of life because of what they did to me. And now you're trying to claim that I'm one of them? It's just an additional slap in the face, guys, on top of everything else they're accusing him of. And they are lying. And they do these semantics and these word games. Something you guys may not know about me, even though I'm just a good old country boy, I won third place in the nation in debate in high school and in college. I know something about straw man arguments and slippery slope and all the other bullshit that this administration uses to try to make it look like they're in the right when it comes to argumentation. So they get an informant to lie and say that he's part of a gang. And then they take that gang and they label it a T organization. He's not a member of that gang. He's not part of a T organization, but they still connect the dots everywhere they go. Well, he was ruled to be part of a gang. That gang is a T organization now. Therefore, he's a T, and therefore El Salvador can't send him back. And the president of El Salvador, that little banny rooster, doing the same thing. What kind of deals were cut to that guy? I mean, he's sitting there with that little Cheshire bullshit grin on his face, making the argument, well, what do you want me to do? Send a terrorist back to the United States? That's insane. No, we want you to send back a man that was wrongfully taken off the streets. And I don't want any one of you to ever forget the fact that the administration has already admitted that this was a mistake. You know that, right? I know you do because you're smart. You wouldn't be on this live and you wouldn't be part of the back 40 if you weren't smart. They've already admitted that this was a mistake. They called it a clerical error. Do you remember? They called it a clerical error. Thank you for the gifts, guys. I really appreciate it. They called it a clerical error. They already admitted it was a mistake. And now they're trying to reverse course on that through straw man arguments and slippery slope and all the other rhetorical games that are played when you're in the wrong and you want to try to say you're in the right. It's a horrible analogy, horrible analogy. But another thing I thought of today is there used to be an old comedy skit by Eddie Murphy where he's admitting to his wife that he sleeps with another woman. But in the end, he says, yeah, baby, I slept with her, but I love you. And that's the same kind of gaslighting we're getting from this administration. Yeah, I know I admitted I was wrong. I know that we said it was a clerical error. I know that we already agreed that what we did wasn't correct. But that doesn't matter because now that we've lost the case, we want to come back and say it was something different. Skyscraper, great way to put it. Verbal sleight of hand. Absolutely. And I got to tell you guys, the other thing that really worries me now, given where he is, we don't even know if he's still alive. We don't even know if he's still alive. And I can't believe I'm saying this about a government of the United States of America, but do we have any confidence that that's not an option for them? Do we have any confidence at all that that's not an option for him, that they wouldn't look the other way when El Salvador does whatever El Salvador wants to do to make this problem go away? Carl, I'm glad you joined too. Good to see you. Thank you. Do we have any confidence at all that they wouldn't look the other way while El Salvador does whatever they want to do to make the problem go away? I don't. I have no confidence at all. The government of El Salvador certainly hasn't proven that. I mean, look at what they've done. Everybody wants to hold El Salvador up. They brag all the time. The president of El Salvador in the Oval Office the other day, bragging all the time, constantly about how we went from the most dangerous country in the world to the safest country in the world. Well, how in the hell did you do that? You did that by trampling on the rights of the innocent along with the guilty. Now, maybe that doesn't mean anything else in El Salvador anymore. But I bet you if you ask the innocent who were swept up in all of that, they would say it matters. There are a lot of wrongs you can right by creating more wrongs. Let me say it again. There are a lot of wrongs that you can correct by creating more wrongs. If you're willing to throw the Constitution and due process and trial by jury of peers and the fairness doctrine out the window, you can make America really safe for everybody else whose rights haven't been trampled upon, for the remaining few, those that are still standing. John makes a great point. Now that all this has happened, they don't want him on cameras here. They don't want him on CNN. They don't want him in the New York Times or the Washington Post talking about what happened down there, because God knows what's already happened to him down there. You can't tell me the way they stack those prisoners down there like cordwood that they have any control at all over what's happening inside those barracks when the lights go off. Oh, excuse me, they never go off. They use the same torture techniques that the T states use as well. And this is where we are. This is where we are. Lie after lie after lie. And this is where I want you pushing back when you talk about the facts. I made my phone calls today. I called my congressperson and I called both of my United States senators. And I registered my opinion. But while I was on that phone, well, I only got through to two of them. The other one, I don't even think they have a phone line that works. It's a chronic voicemail. But I made the point to them. I said, what the administration is saying about him is a lie. And you've got to hold them accountable to that. You've got to hold them accountable to that. Because if they can lie about Abreu Garcia, they can lie about any one of us as they build those additional prisons for homegrown. And guys, it's a slippery slope, because remember what they said. We talk about this all the time on the Back 40, right? Remember what they said in the beginning when all my farmer and rancher friends out there that voted for Donald Trump said, don't worry, Will, they're only going to come after the criminals and deport them. And then within the first week that they were in office, they went out to Central Valley in California and they started going after the 50%, 70% of ag workers in this country that are here in an undocumented fashion. And now 75% of our agricultural workers in this country aren't showing up because they're afraid to, because they didn't just go after the criminally violent. They went after everybody. They went after everybody. If their lips are moving, they are lying. And now, look at what's happening in Nebraska. Look at what's happening in Wisconsin. Look at what's happening in the San Joaquin Valley and in Imperial, California. We can't get the crops harvested. Nebraska is about to go bankrupt along with a lot of farmers there because they bought into the lie that we were only going to deport the violent criminals. And now, not only are we deporting anybody that's here illegally, we're deporting the people who are here legally, who our federal government has ruled have a right to be here because as a democracy, as a constitutional republic that up until now has appreciated, fought for, advocated for the rights of the individual person, we gave people a right to declare their intentions to come here to escape persecution in their old countries. And now we're sending them back based on lies. This is no time, guys, to sit back and wait to see what happens. We have got to fight every day actively to push back against this. I'm doing what I can, but I got to tell you guys, all the opportunities I get to go out there to speak. Saturday, I'm going to Jefferson City to speak. Later this month, I'm going to be in St. Louis. We've got an event up in northern Missouri. We're going to be going to New York. We're going to be going to North Carolina. We're going to be going to Texas. As of today, it looks like we're going to be going to West Virginia. Fight in every way you can. That's what I'm doing. And I want to thank you on the Back 40 for giving me the opportunity to do that, because I couldn't do it if it wasn't for the support that you give us. And as we go out to rural America and we try to make a difference, unfortunately, right now, it needs to be a face like mine out there making that case. And you're giving me that opportunity to do it. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. How do you do that? How do you become part of the Back 40? You can go to www.theback40official, all spelled out, theback40official.com, and you just sign up. It doesn't cost you a single thing to do that. You just sign up to get our updates so we can let you know what initiatives we're working on, where we're going to be to speak so that you can come out and support us. And we want to there is one way that we want to take advantage of you, and that's to take advantage of your great talents, because we have so many talented people that are part of the Back 40. If you've got a special skill, we want to know about it. Go out there, sign up, check the box, and let us know how you can help. And while you're there, if you want to support the podcast or you want to support what we're doing, there are options out there to do that. You can buy a cool Back 40 mug, you can buy a Back 40 shirt, or you can support the podcast directly. Lots of places in Missouri I'm going to be speaking. We're going to go to California, Missouri later this month and speak. We're going to be up in St. Louis toward the end of next week. We're going to be in Jefferson City this Saturday. I'm going to hobble my way up the hill there in Jefferson City, and I'm going to speak to, I'm going to be speaking to the choir, but that's okay. Sometimes we need to dance with the ones that brung us, and that's what I intend to do Saturday. Just help in any way you can. I get it. Some people can't get out of the house, okay? I get it. People have full-time jobs, just like I do. I'm trying to run a farm. I'm trying to run a business. And I'm trying to do this as well. I get it. We're all busy. Do what you can. And I know people sometimes feel like they're not doing enough when they're only making calls or they're only sending emails, but you are, depending on how you handle it. Okay? Just don't take the canned responses as a legitimate answer to your inquiries. push back against that and say, no, I want to know exactly what you're doing to stop this. I want to know what you're doing to stop this. I don't want you to tell me you're going to pass my message along to the senator or congressperson. I want you to tell me, when are they going to speak out about this? When are they going to go in front of a camera and a microphone and say, this is wrong and we have to stop it? Because today it's them, tomorrow it could be us. I'm not going to drop these words, build more prisons, because we're going after the homegrown next. And boy, did they know they had screwed up, because then they were out there on every television station they could find saying, well, we're talking about the worst of the worst. That's what they said when they were talking about going after illegal immigrants. And they went after farm workers and construction workers and mom and dads just going to work and doing their job every day. They lied to us before. They're lying now. They will lie to us again. You fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. And for those of you out there that voted for him, I keep saying it over and over again. I'm not asking you to admit you're wrong. I just want you to admit you were lied to, because you know what our grandmothers and grandfathers say about that. When you get lied to the first time, it's their fault. But when you fall for it over and over again, it's your fault. And if this were anybody other than Donald Trump, you wouldn't even put up an argument against that. You wouldn't even put up an argument against that. If you had 100 head of cattle and you were paying somebody to watch them, and 20 of those cattle disappeared, and you found out later that they sold them, you would never hire that same person back again to watch your cattle again. If you'd planted a 500-acre field of row crops and you were paying somebody to keep an eye on that, to keep your antifungals and your pesticides applied so that you were going to get a good crop at the end of the year, and you came to check on it and the crop was in disarray and it had destroyed your profitability, you'd never hire them back the next year to do the same thing. But you've got a president of the United States of America stepping on individuals' rights, casting the Constitution of the United States out the window, eliminating due process in this country. And yet you keep going back to that well over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. You wouldn't do it in any other aspect of your life. You wouldn't do it in any other aspect of your life, and yet you're doing it here. It only stops when we make it stop, guys. It only stops when we make it stop. And I know we're doing everything we can to make that happen, but we've got to keep it up. We've got to keep it up. I want you guys to bear with me just 1 second here, okay? I've got somebody playing games on our TikTok feed. Just bear with me. This is what happens when you're doing the Lord's work, guys. They have a Discord set up. I know some of you already know this, but they've got a Discord set up where they're mass reporting us, playing all kinds of games. And now their latest strategy and tactic is they come into the live and they try to invite me over and over and over again to go co-host with them on another live. So we had to block them. We're trying to get a little bit of software that will allow us to broadcast over multiple platforms and to be able to handle things like that. Just for speaking the truth. Somebody asked, why are they mass reporting you? They're doing it just because we're speaking the truth, guys. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. It happens all the time. They're not going to stop us. I mean, between all platforms right now, we have well over 1,000 people listening to us, and they're not going to stop us. It's just not going to happen. I can promise you that. Now, I want to talk a little bit because I had a great conversation today with a friend of mine that's got experience in the federal court system, because I was a little bit confused. I've got to be honest with you guys. So listen closely to what I'm about to tell you, because the way the legal system in this country works is a little bit different than the way I understood it over the last couple of days. Okay. I thought that the Supreme Court of the United States of America was basically telling the Trump administration, you have to do this or else. But the way it was described to me by my friend who's got experience in the federal court system, who's an attorney there, is that the Supreme Court was reporting back to the lower court, this is what you need to do in terms of holding the administration accountable. So the hearings that were held today were the next step in that process. Okay. Does that make sense? Basically, the Supreme Court, in its ruling, was telling the lower court, you have jurisdiction in this case, your ruling is correct. Now you need to determine how you want to carry it out. So the Supreme Court's ruling wasn't directed at the presidency, at the executive branch. It was basically spelling out, we agree with what the appeal court said. We're sending it back to the lower court so they can hold the administration accountable. I didn't understand that. I did not understand that. So the hearing that was held today, that was about beginning the process now of holding the administration accountable. And I don't know if you guys saw any of the hearing or heard about it. Shouldn't say, but heard about it. But the judge was not impressed. The judge was not impressed at all. And I understand why these deadlines had to be set to allow the government, to come back with their arguments, et cetera. But it just sickens me to think that now this man who has a wife and 3 children back here in this country, who's enduring these wrongs because of the blatant racism of this administration, is sitting down there in this camp in El Salvador. And now the government has until April 30th to come back with their arguments and to make their case. Put up or shut up time, I guess. But I just have this gut-wrenching feeling that every day he's down there is just another day that something can go wrong, that his voice can be extinguished. And Claymore, you're absolutely right. We can't forget that ever. He's not the only one. They've basically admitted that 75% of the people we sent down there were denied due process, and they can't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're part of any kind of organization that would have justified it. And I've spoken to a couple of my friends in the LGBTQ plus community, and I don't even want to repeat what they've told me about the horrible things that could have happened to the other gentleman that was sent down there, who's part of that community. It's just wrong. And I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. If they were doing this to your family, you would say that it's wrong. Are you going to excuse it? Are you going to excuse it because it's happening to somebody else? Because it doesn't impact you on a daily basis? Les, send me a message if you would on YouTube, and I'll make sure that happens. Sorry about that. No, be heard. You're absolutely right. God ain't in this at all. And that's another thing. For any of you that are believers out there, you should be fighting this battle on 2 fronts, because, my friends, they're stealing our faith. I don't know if you've ever talked to a young person about why they're leaving the faith. But this right here, what we've been watching play out since January 20th, is one of the primary reasons. It's one of the primary reasons why young people are leaving the faith. Les, when you send me that message, make sure you give me your username on TikTok, okay? Don't forget that. Lots of times when we go to mute somebody or block them, you accidentally click on the person below them or something like that. So I apologize. We'll get it fixed. But if you're a person of faith, they're trying to steal your faith. They're trying to take your voice away. Because if you're a person of faith, you know this is wrong. You know this is wrong. Sandy, you're right. Doesn't matter of your age. You know it's wrong. Anytime somebody that claims to be a person of faith comes to me and says that what they're doing is right, I like to hand them this book right over here. I keep a little pocket Bible that my aunt gave me when I was 13 years old, and I carried it around with me, and I just hand it to them, and I say, you find somewhere in that Bible in the New Testament where Jesus said that this was okay. They can't find it. And you could hand them the book of any major faith in this world, and they'd never be able to find a place that justifies the vitriol and hatred and everything else that they're trying to carry out against people that they don't believe are human. And that's what this comes down to. They truly don't believe these people deserve the basic sense of respect that we give to anyone that is a human being. And they sure as hell don't believe that we should be stacking on top of that the rights that we guarantee in this country. Or maybe I should say the rights that at one time we guaranteed in this country. So what did the federal judge say today? She's giving the administration a chance to expedite their fact finding in this case to figure out where do things stand now, which in my opinion is just a stalling technique. I've got to be honest with you. And then she made it clear to them what she meant by facilitating his return. She said, you're taking the word facilitating it and you're defining it outside the terms of the law. It doesn't just mean that you eliminate the roadblocks here in this country if El Salvador decides to give him back, but you're facilitating that return. And by facilitating that return, it means pick up the damn phone, call the government of El Salvador, the president of El Salvador, and say, send him back. Because, guys, that's all it would take, right? That's all it would take. If the Secretary of State picked up the phone and called his peer in El Salvador and said, get him on a plane and send him back right now, he would be on the very next plane. And the judge saw through this game. She saw through this game immediately. And the judge said, we're going to have 2 weeks of intense discovery, but after that, we're going to get to the rat killing. Time's up. We're going to have a record in place and we're going to take it from there. And they knew what that meant. She's tired of the bullshit. Everything I read about this case said that she was visibly frustrated on the bench because they're gaslighting her in the courtroom the same way they were gaslighting us from the Oval Office the other day. And you saw it. I don't care what your political persuasion is. I'm talking to the back 40 here, but I'm also talking to everybody. Listen, if you're a Republican and you grew up in rural America, you still know the difference between right and wrong. You've just decided to abdicate your allegiance to that knowledge because of who you support. The good news for you is it's never too late. It's never too late to claim back your relationship with the truth and with what's right and with dignity and with treating people with respect and with following the golden rule. And she told the administration point blank, she told the lawyers in court, I don't care what the president of El Salvador said yesterday. What happened yesterday in the Oval Office is not evidence before this court. She knows. She knows that all they have to do is contact the government of El Salvador, and this man could be returned tomorrow unless they've done something with him. And she told him point blank. The quote was, "When a wrongfully removed individual from the United States is outside the borders, it's not so cut and dry that all you have to do is remove domestic barriers." She's telling them, you may have to get off your ass and make a phone call. And listen, guys, can we just think about this for a minute? This administration constantly brags and praises the strength of the United States of America as justification to do whatever the hell they want to do around the world. David, you're just wrong. You're just absolutely wrong. I'll make $1,000 donation to the charity of your choice if you can find a legal decision that says he was removed legally from this country. You can't do it. I might as well say 100,000. You're just wrong. And you can lay on the ground and kick and scream in circles like I used to do when my big brother was trying to beat me up, and it ain't going to make you any more right. They constantly use the strength of our military, the strength of our country, and our relationships around the world to brag about the fact that we can enforce our will on anyone. So here you have the administration on one hand saying, we're going to do whatever the hell we want in tariffs because we're the strongest country in the world, and the rest of the world is going to come around to our way of thinking because they don't have a choice. And at the same time, we're trying to make the argument that we can't get little tiny El Salvador to return a man if we ask him to. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. China's going to do what we ask him to do with tariffs. South Korea is going to do what we ask him to do. The entire EU is going to do what we ask him to do. South America is going to do what we ask him to do. The Asia Pacific is going to do what we ask him to do. Southeast Asia is going to do what we ask him to do in regard to tariffs because we're the strongest country in the world. And might is right. But whoa, hey. If we ask little El Salvador down there to return a man, they're not going to do it. We just don't have the power and authority to do that. Do you realize what a cataclysmically stupid argument that is? You know, there's always put up or shut up time. And that's where this administration is. You can't make the argument that you're going to force the whole world because of the raw might and power of the United States to accept these tariffs that nobody else wants but the Trump administration. But at the same time, you don't have the power and authority to get a little bitty country down in Central America to return a man that you sent down there and paid them to keep. The math ain't mathing. It ain't passing the smell test. And then the DOJ comes back and says, the federal courts have no authority to direct the executive branch to conduct foreign relations in a particular way. Again, slippery slope, straw man. She's not asking you to conduct foreign relations. She's telling you you've admitted that you sent a man who never should have been sent to a camp in another country for punishment. She's asking you to bring them back, which is well within your power and authority. Are you telling me you had the authority to make El Salvador take them, but you don't have the power and authority to ask for them back? It's absurd. It doesn't pass the smell test. I mean, she got so frustrated on the bench today that the judge said the administration's understanding of facilitate flies in the face of the plain meaning of the word. Let me say that again. The administration's understanding of facilitate flies in the face of the plain meaning of the word. Basically, not basically, she was clearly saying if you've got the understanding and intelligence of a middle school student, you should know what the word facilitate means. If you have to genuflect, bend over backwards, and tie yourself up into a pretzel, defining the word facilitate in order to justify the incorrect actions that you have taken, then you've already lost the argument. You've already lost the argument. You've already lost the argument. And they're not done, guys. They're not done. I mean, I don't know if you saw this other story today, but it's not just about deportation. It's not just about pretending that they don't have the authority to fix the problems that they've created. But we also found out at 3 o'clock today, Eastern Standard Time, that the Justice Department fired an immigration lawyer who argued the case of the mistakenly deported man. Erez Ravini argued the government's case in the deportation of Kilmar Armando Abrejo Garcia, who the Trump administration has said was sent to his native El Salvador last month due to a clerical error, despite a court order that he not be deported. So for all you yahoos that have been coming in the live and making the argument that he wasn't wrongfully deported, on the record is a court order out there saying that he should not be deported. It's not only that there's an absence of proof, it's that all the proof supports the fact that this administration made an illegal decision. And when Ravini got up in front of the court to defend the government's decision, the Justice Department wanted him to lie. Because the judge kept saying, show me the proof. Tell me where it is. Lay it out in front of me. And there was no there. And Ravini wouldn't lie. So he was placed on administrative leave, and today they fired him. You know what this reminds me of? Can you guys think of a time in our country where people in the Justice Department or in the courts, especially in the South, had no problem going in front of the courts and lying or doing whatever they needed to do to subjugate a class of people? Does it remind you of anything? Starts with a Jim, ends with a Crow? Thank you, Roberto. Yeah, Red Scare as well. Absolutely. This reminds me so much of Jim Crow because you knew, and granted now, okay, this is all based on study and reading. But you knew when you went into that courtroom, your odds of getting a fair shake were slim to none. Well, the courts have changed. The courts are standing up for the rights of people like Garcia that were incorrectly and illegally sent. Now we have an executive branch of government that's taken the place of the Jim Crow delegates in the South that did the same thing to people of color in our country. Why do you think time after time after time people warn us, if you ignore your history, you're doomed to repeat it? Talk to any person of color. Talk to any person of color about the history of this country with race relations and Jim Crow. Everything that we were able to fix and improve in regard to race relations and how our government treats people of color by ending a lot of the race discrimination in this country was a direct result of us changing the laws in this country and then putting the enforcement in place to prevent these things from happening. And what has the right done? They've stepped in and say that because we've made some strides in this area, it's okay to toss it out the window. Nobody's racist anymore, Will. Nobody discriminates against people of color anymore. We're all living a kumbaya existence here. So we can get rid of all of these laws that make sure that if you're a person of color or part of the LGBTQ plus community or a woman, that you shouldn't be discriminated against when you try to get a loan to buy a home or a car or start a new business, that you shouldn't be discriminated against when you go to apply for a job. Can these people not read? Every year you can Google the studies that show that even though it's gotten better, these same things still happen. There was a study done just 3 years ago where they took people of color with the exact same resumes as white people and submitted them for jobs and loan applications. All they did was change the names at the top of the application. And instead of Will Smith, it was Jamal Smith. And discrimination occurred just based on the name. And you're trying to make the argument to me that it's all gone, that it doesn't exist anymore? Well, if it doesn't exist anymore, if we're not demonizing people of color anymore, if we're not crashing down on the people that are marginalized in this country, then in order to win an election, why did you make the case that everybody that comes across the border that has brown skin is coming after our white mothers and daughters and sisters? If that innate racism is not there anymore, if it's all gone, if we're all gathered around the fire singing Kumbaya, then why did you endure and strive to win an election based on the argument that anybody that comes across that border that's a person of color is coming here to essay the women in our lives? Because it's all bullshit. We all know the truth. And I got to say something to all of you out there, women, people of color. We just keep asking people to wait a little while longer. I'm talking about people like me. We said it to people of color. Just wait. We're making the case. We're making the argument. Those rights are going to come at some point. Just bear with it. Even though your son's being discriminated against, your daughter's being discriminated against, you can't buy a house, you can't buy a car, you can't open your business. Just wait. We're going to get there eventually. And they fought like hell, and they gave it time. And then we turned around to the LGBTQ plus community and we said, we know you can't get married. We know you can't love the person you want to love. We know that you can't get the same rights in regard to health benefits and life insurance and home ownership and everything else that goes along with it. But just wait a little longer. Just wait a little longer. And people fought like hell, and eventually we made some improvements. Hang on, guys. Eventually we made some improvements. And now we're doing it to Hispanics and people of color in our country. And just like we've done it every other time, the ramifications for the people that have to wait are felt so much more deeply, even to the point of the manner of life and death, than those of us that are asking them to wait. So you know what? We don't have a right anymore to say, please wait. The only words coming out of this white guy's mouth from now on are going to be, what can I do to help you get there? Tell me. I'm not going to tell you I've got all the answers. I'm not going to tell you what the pathway is. I'm going to ask the simple question, What can I do as an old white guy in this country that never has to worry when he gets pulled over by a police officer, never has to worry when he crosses the border into Canada or Mexico, never has to worry when he goes to the bank to get a loan for his farm or for his business, never has to worry when he goes to apply for a job? What can I do? What can I do with that to help? You point, and I'm going to salute. That's our job now. Our job now is to help make other voices heard. Yeah, Richard, you're right. I mean, we've done it. Our country has a spotty record on rights, but that's why we should fight harder and harder. I mean, we did it to indigenous peoples, we did it to people of color. Hell, we even did it to white people that came from countries that we didn't like. Read about the Irish sometime. White people in this country have mastered new ways to be discriminatory over the years. It's the one thing we're super good at. But we've got to be honest about what's driving this. I mean, we can't push back against it and we can't defeat it if we're not honest about what's driving it. And now the rubber's hit the road, and now we're in danger too. Because when they start talking about sending the homegrown, they're talking about anybody that disagrees with what this administration stands for. That's who they're talking about. Anybody. And this is what has happened. This is the argument that's been made year after year and decade after decade and century after century by marginalized people. They've made the case over and over again. If you sit around on your laurels and you don't do anything to prevent this from happening to us, eventually those chickens are going to come home to roost with you. And that's happening. That's happening. It's never going to be, well, never say never. And this is why it's time to drop those barriers between peoples. We are all on the same side. We are all on the same page. And these are fights we have to fight, not just for a few, but for everybody. And I make this argument, guys, and I do this not only because I love my country and I want to see it be everything it can be. I do this as well because of my faith, and I know what my faith says. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let them steal my faith along with my country. That's where it all begins. And I know you guys feel the same way. I know you do. And I know these last few lives I've gotten on soapbox after soapbox, but it's now or never time. I mean, that's the bottom line, guys. It's now or never time. And I know that's why you're here. I know that's why you're here. And it's extending outside of the realm of just these deportations and the things that they're doing to people of color and to immigrants in this country. He is, I don't know any other, I probably could come up with a better way to say it, but I'm a redneck at heart. He just has a hard on over strong men and people that impose their power on other people at the expense of their rights and freedoms. There's no other way to put it. He places those people at the top of his own personal love pyramid. All the time it's Putin this, Orban this. I mean, these are the people that he puts at the top of his pyramid. So he flexes power over everybody. The law, look what he's doing right now. He's flexing power over the law. He's doing everything he can to push back against these other branches of government to show that he's in charge of everything. And again, I made this point the other day. I'm going to make it again. Just imagine if the House and the Senate passed a piece of legislation and sent it to the president and he vetoed it, and the House and Senate said, you know what? It's a law anyway. It's a law anyway. We don't care about the veto. We don't care about the executive branch. Sign it or don't sign it. It's still a law. And the Supreme Court said, you know what? It's a law. Forget the fact that it was vetoed by the president. We don't need an override. Imagine how loud those crybabies down there on Pennsylvania Avenue would scream and gyrate and whine and cry if the other branches of government did this to them. They're trying to exert power over our colleges and what we teach. And guys, don't kid yourself. It's not just DEI. And they're trying to stop that because they don't know what the hell it is, or even more frightening, they do know what it is and they still want to stop it. They're doing this because they want to control the education that occurs in our higher institutions of learning. They want to rewrite history. They're already doing it at the local level where they've been elected. They're doing it here in Missouri where I live. They're doing it all throughout the South. They're doing it in Oklahoma. They're eliminating entire sections of history out of the history books that we teach our children, or they're changing it in some way, shape, or form to sanitize it the way it was in the 40s or 50s. And my question is why? What is the fear? Can we just not? I mean, when we talk about the founding fathers of this nation and the mistakes that they made, the fact that many of them owned other people and all these other things, and we talk about where we've come as a country, that history makes us stronger in the long run than it weakens us. Changing that history, eliminating that history, sanitizing that history, it makes us weaker. They're even trying to do it to the media. I mean, look at what they do in the Oval Office, and we've just normalized it. When Caitlin Collins was trying to ask that question, and the president just belittled her every time she tried to ask a question, and then made the argument, why can't you just say thank you? Why can't you just thank me for getting these people out of our country? Why am I not thanking you for exporting an innocent man back to a country where they tried to unalive him when he was young? I don't know, Donald. I mean, why am I not thanking you? Why am I not thanking you for saying build more prisons because we're going to start sending our homegrown people there? I don't know. Why wouldn't I thank you for that, Donald? He's trying to force this power flex over every different part of what makes our democracy a democracy. It is a executive branch power grab unlike anything we've ever seen before. And the face of this, of course, is Stephen Miller, the man with the most punchable face in American government. And, you know, they put him out there, guys, to gaslight us. They put him out there to gaslight us because they know he's the most reprehensible person they could have out there making these arguments on behalf of the administration. And it's their way of saying, we don't give a shit if you disagree with us. And by the way, we're going to send the most inhuman member of the administration out here to make the case for us because We know that's salt in the wounds for all of you that are fighting to accomplish the right thing. But let's talk about the good news. We've got to take our victories. We've got to own our victories as they're happening. We have to talk about the change that we're accomplishing right now. We can't continuously beat ourselves down. We can't continue to fight without talking about the things that we're accomplishing. And there's a lot that we're accomplishing. First of all, the courts are standing up. The courts are standing up. And that's a stepping off point for the rest of us. It brings legitimacy to what we're trying to accomplish because we have a full-fledged, equal member of the triaxiom of American government behind us in what we're trying to accomplish. The courts, the very institution that is designed to interpret the Constitution, how laws apply, they're on our side right now. That's a good thing. It gives us credibility. Because if you're going to stand on the other side, if you're going to argue in favor of what this administration is doing, then you've got to argue against the core belief that in this country, the judicial branch of the United States of America interprets the Constitution of the United States. And can you truly be an American if you believe that? I'm just putting the question out there. If you believe that all the power in this government should reside in the executive branch and that what the president says goes, that sounds a hell of a lot more like a monarchy than it does a constitutional republic. A couple other things I want to tell you. For those of you that started out with me, you know that I also do polling. My company also does polling. I know, it's crazy. A farmer who does polling. Blowing your mind many different ways today. I want to give you a piece of good news. First of all, if the polling trend continues the way it is right now, within 2 weeks, Trump's going to be back down into the 30s for his approval rating, which is where he ended up in his first term after all of the horrible shit that he pulled on us during his first term. He's already down to 42% approval rating, which is the lowest approval rating of any president at the beginning of his term in the history of this country. Okay? The second thing is, learn today, at 3 o'clock today, they released a set of new numbers. And I was doing my best to get the link for this. We'll put it out in the Discord, and I'll tell you guys how to go to the Discord to get that. But independent voters are abandoning the president in record numbers. So we've been making this argument for a long time now that even with Democrats opposing this president because of his support among independent voters and Republicans, he's still been able to maintain his edge there in regard to the numbers. We found out today in new polling that independent voters are abandoning him in record numbers. I'll make sure we get this posted out onto the Discord, okay? There's a video link out there that you can watch. You can learn about it. I might be able to tell you here which polling company did the... Yeah, so he's down 22%. In the last round of polling that was done, he had dropped 16% among independent voters. In today's numbers, he had dropped 22%. 22% of independent voters that supported him on election day have now changed their mind and said, I no longer support him. Josh, I'm not quite old enough to have worked for Ike Skelton. I knew him. I met him. Wasn't quite old enough to work directly for him. And thank you, Marianne. I appreciate those words. But he's losing support. I know what's up. You can ask the question, how is it only 22%? But if we keep doing what we're doing in social media and on the streets, that number is going to continue to climb. It's going to climb, it's going to climb, and it's going to climb. And you're going to see those approval ratings drop down into the 30s. And what is all of this setting us up for, guys? Right? What is it all setting us up for? Do you know? What election cycle is this setting us up for? Let me hear you. Put it in the comments, both places. You got it. See, this is why I always say that the back 40 are the smartest people on the planet. It's setting us up for the midterms. You got it right on TikTok and you got it right on YouTube. Do you know we have 5 seats out there? 6 seats out there. I'm sorry. Do you know we have 6 seats out there that were decided by less than 1%? 6 seats out there that were settled by less than 1%. That means that the Democrats only got to win 0.6% to change that race from one direction to the other. One direction to the other. And here at the Back 40, we've put together 3 different organizations. We've got the Back 40 Media, where we're doing what we're doing here, coming out several times a week to make the case, going around the country to give speeches, to incorporate people into what we're doing. We've also got the Back 40 C4, where we're going out there to try to educate the masses about better rural school policy, better rural healthcare policy, better rural ag policy, better rural economic policy. So when I drive from here to Jefferson City and go through places like Cross Timbers, I don't have to see no businesses and all the roofs caving in on each other. And then we've got the Back 40 Super PAC, where we're going to be helping candidates that are passing policies that are good for America. I made the decision, guys, when you gave me the honor of following me, and I went from some guy in the middle of Missouri with no followers who's been preaching this stuff for 30 years, and you decided that my voice should be heard, and it was you that did that. You did that. All the credit goes to you guys. I appreciate all the thanks in here. I appreciate you guys complimenting me. I appreciate you thanking me for stepping up. But I never want you to forget that none of this would be possible if it wasn't for all of you. Because through your follows on social media, you allowed my voice to be heard. And what have we accomplished with that? We've kept groups like Sanctuary City for the Unborn out of Missouri through people here in the Back 40. We've had school board candidates that are Christian nationalists who wanted to ban books. We've prevented them from getting elected. We've stopped attacks on women's reproductive rights around the country. We just got the opportunity to go around the country and do roundtables with former Senator Heidi Heitkamp on agriculture in rural America. So we can give that feedback back to the Democratic Party, not shilling for them, but getting feedback from you in rural America to take it back to them to fight for the policies that we need to save our schools, to save our hospitals, to save our small towns, and to save our small farms and ranches. Everything we're doing here on the Back 40 is because of you. And not only that, and this is the thing I'm most proud of. I know it's going to sound silly, but once a dad, once a grandpa, always a dad, always a grandpa. All of the people we have on the Back 40 that are now making their own videos talking about how these policies are bad for their families. And they're putting them out there, and we're sharing them, and we're getting their word out. And these other organizations like Voices Without Walls and Marty McFly and all the work they're doing, we played a role in that. Because it isn't about Will, it isn't about just growing the likes, it's about all of our voices being heard. And that's the thing I'm most proud of. Is that we're helping other people to have their voices heard as well. And we're talking to people that are starting to understand that they made the wrong decision. Guys, I'm just telling you, here on the Back 40, for every Skylar Holden out there that got his check and decided he didn't care anymore, there are 2 or 3 or 4 that have said, I'm signing up for the long haul. They're here in the back 40. They're all over social media. There are a group of farmers, Democrat, Independent, and Republican, that have created an organization called Farmers Against Tariffs. Skyler is not the poster child for what happens when you reach out to a MAGA person. Skyler just decided that as long as things were okay with him, he didn't care about everybody else. And there are people that want to take that example and they want to say this is what happens every time, and that's not true. So while we're allowing people that realize that they voted for something that's going to be bad for them to come fight with us to stop it, we still have to fight like hell. It's not an either or situation. Nobody sits around and gets kicked in the teeth while they're waiting for other people to come around. We still fight those fights. We still get out there and we make that case every day. Because that's what we have to do. But here in rural America, and I've said this over and over and over again, in my home county, if every Democrat voted and if we got 60% of the independent vote, we would still lose if we don't change any minds. Peony, I don't blame you. I'm right there with you. You put out your hand when somebody cuts it off. That's that. All right. I want to tell you one more time, guys, if you don't mind, how you can become a part of the Back 40. Take a minute right now and go to www.theback40official. It's all spelled out. If you guys could throw it in the comments on both platforms, it'd be great. It's theback40official.com. The website is incredible, guys. It's only going to get better as time goes by. We're going to build the website out. If you've got somebody in the media locally that wants to talk to us about what we're doing, there's a place there to do that. If you want us to come speak in your area, there's a place where you can request that, but be ready to go to work. Because if you ask us to come speak, you're a farmhand now. We're going to put you to work. You got to help us. You got to help us find a place to come to. You got to help us roust up a crowd. We're all in this together, guys. We're all in this together. That's awesome, Josh. There's a place on there where you can support our podcast. We've been asked to raise the money to put our first 6 podcast episodes in the bank, and that's what we're doing. If you want to help us with that, there's a place where you can do that. If you want to buy some cool merchandise, Back 40 merchandise, you can do that. And none of this is going to me for a new truck on the farm. None of this is going to me for a new fishing boat. I've been paying for all this out of my pocket. So we're using all of this to expand the Back 40, guys. And you know what? If you can't do that, it's fine. Start making your own videos. Tell your personal story. This is how these policies, cutting Medicaid, school vouchers that will decimate rural schools, bad ag policy that causes our small farms and ranches to be bought up by Wall Street and J.D. Vance and his friends at Acre Trader. Tell your personal story. And we'll help you get that word out there. Put a little hashtag on there, the Back 40. Put a little ad on there, Westmoreland _pops. Just let them know you're a farmhand. Make those videos and we'll help you get them out there. You can go to the website today and you can do that, and you can support us financially. You can support us with your words. You can support us with your story. All of that is good. Every bit of that is just as valuable as the other. We need it. We need it. Let me tell you one more time about the events that we have coming up, okay? This Saturday, we're going to be in Jefferson City. There's a protest scheduled up there. I don't even like to call it a protest. I like to call it standing up for our rights. if that makes sense. I like to stand up for our rights. But I'm going to be up there. I'm going to be speaking to the crowd in Jefferson City, the capital of the state of Missouri. And we're going to be up there, and our voices are going to be heard. On the 24th, we're going to be in St. Louis. More details to follow there. I'm going to ask Zeppo to put the notes in the comments, but I think it's May 8th or 9th. We're going to be in California, Missouri, speaking to a group of 300 people. We're going to be going to New York. We're going to be going to Southern New Jersey. We're going to be going to Western North Carolina. We're going to be going to Texas. We're going to be going down to the Boot Heel of Missouri. We're going to be going out to Oklahoma. And then on top of all that, we're doing these listening tours with Heidi Heitkamp, the former senator from North Dakota, going around the country talking about rural issues. Yeah, we're trying to get it. We've got a group in Kentucky talking to us as well, guys. We're at the beginning stages of planning that. We'll make sure we put it out on the website so that you know. So that you know. Yeah, Jill, that'd be great. That'd be great. And listen, guys, I'm happy. I've been on Don Lemon's show. I had an opportunity to do an interview with the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, all kinds of ag radio around the country. If you've got some media that would love to talk with us, just ask them to reach out. They can go right to the website and make a request there. We'd love to talk with them. I'd love to talk to some of these bigger creators, like the Midas Touch. But I got to tell you right now, this old boy is burning the candle at both ends. So we need your help to make contact with some of these people to get the word out. We need your help to do that. We will talk to anybody that we can talk to. If you would have asked me a year ago, guys, if I would be on podcasts and I'd be talking to Don Lemon and all these other things, I would have told you were crazy. But the truth is, you made all of that possible. You guys made all of that possible. I don't know, Doughboy. Howard Stern might be a bridge too far. I don't know. But once again, I just want to thank you guys for opening up all these opportunities. It's because of you that it's happened. All right, guys, let's get to the questions. I've got both platforms set up today so that I can take questions on both sides. If I miss something, mods, if you don't mind, put it in the comments. But let me just answer some of your general questions that you might have. Okay. I always like to do that as we get toward the end. So ask your questions. When will it be in Southern New Jersey? That's going to be probably in June or July. We'll let you know. Just keep an eye on the website, www.theback40official.com. Steve, you're going to love this. Mr. Global and I are going to be doing something big. That's all I can say right now. He's not too far from me in Oklahoma. We're going to be doing something big together, and more to follow. I hate to wet your whistle that way. That's mean of me, Steve, and I'm sorry, but I got to do it. So I got to do it. I'd love to come to Nashville. I love Nashville. Northwestern Ohio. Yeah, I'd love to come to Ohio, guys. A lot of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I lived in Ohio from 1992 to 1997. It's where I got my first political job, was in Columbus, Ohio. And my kid's grandfather, on their mom's side, had a big farm. For those of you that live in Ohio, you know the Columbus Zoo is one of the premier zoos in the country. Their great-grandfather, my ex-wife's grandfather, owned the farm where the veterinary center is for the Columbus Zoo now. So that big, beautiful pre-Civil War house out there, that was their great-grandfather's farm. Some of you know, if you're from Ohio, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Out there where the veterinary hospital is now, that's the old Askins farm. Guys, just request. That's going to be my goal in life, is to get out on the road this summer and toward the end of the year. Between summer and when the holidays get here, I would love to do nothing more than spend 3/4 of my time out on the road getting this message out. We're going to do something in California for sure. Uh, Maryland, I think that the protests in California are great. They're only getting bigger and bigger out there, and it just warms my heart. I love to see it. Bill Tane, we're going to be in upstate New York. Don't have all the details yet. I know in general where we're going to be and what farm we're going to be on, but we don't want to spring that on everybody until we have the details. I've got family in Imperial Valley, California, and I've reached out to them, and I'm going to see if we can do some filming out on their big farm in Imperial Valley, California. And then as part of that, we want to try to go up to the Central Valley and get to some of the larger cities there as well. That'll probably be a thing where we do a whole week. All right. Let me make sure I get your questions. I did see the rally on Saturday listen, in LA. Every guys, the more we hit the streets, the tougher it's going to be for them to ignore us and to pretend we're not here. Put in a request for Massachusetts and Connecticut, and if you can find a group of people willing to help, we'll be there, guys. We'll be there. You can count on it. You can count on it. All right, guys, keep the questions coming. How do we find the protests? Go to our Discord. Once you go to www.theback40official.com and you sign up there for updates, there's a box on there you can check that says you want to join our Discord, and we'll shoot well, I better be careful how I say that. We'll shoot SHOOT an email back to you letting you know how you can join the Discord. You can do that right on theback40official.com. 100%. And we like to list protests out there, but if you just Google I knew I was going to do this. The 50 is it 50105 protests? If you just Google that, it'll tell you where they all are. There's usually one in every state capital on every Saturday when they do it. Cool. We got a viewer from South Carolina. That's awesome. Maryland, I do that. Believe it or not, I do talk about gerrymandering when I do my talks, because I talk about the importance of winning local elections. Because as you know, I can tell you've got some political savvy because I've seen your comments on multiple lives. Gerrymandering happens at the local level. You know that. I know you know that. So I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but I talk about the importance of local elections and winning those House and Senate seats because that's where gerrymandering happens. Yeah, that's a great point. Indivisible, a few of you have made that point. Indivisible on their website, they do have all the protest locations available on their website. Now, I don't know if those have been vetted or not, but the Butler County Farm Show. Jaff, sign it up, man. I know you can organize some stuff. I'd love to come up there and wear my Blues hat, my St. Louis Cardinals hat, and let you take me to dinner, Jaffs. Make it happen, buddy. Make it happen. What other questions do you guys have? I want to jump in and answer those. Lay them on me. This is your time. Yeah, we're going to be out in Western North Carolina by the sea. We'll be able to tell you a little bit more as it gets closer, but there's a farm out in Western North Carolina that does farm and to table all up and down the East Coast of the United States, and we're going to be out there visiting. The best way, Samantha, to help local farms is to do farm to table. For instance, I've got a freezer out here in my garage. It's full of pork and beef, and I bought that directly off of the farm. There's a farm here in Southwest Missouri called DK Farms. They make incredible pork, and they raise hogs and they sell that. It's all organic, hasn't been pumped full of medicine. And then I've got a rancher up by Bolivar, Missouri that I buy my beef from. And that's the best way to help them. And then vote for politicians that have good rural policy. The polling is important, Truth, because it puts a power behind your words. So, for instance, when we as the Back 40 PAC or we as the Back 40 C4 nonprofit, when we go out and talk to people about donating money to help us get the word out so that we can get involved in local elections and get people elected that are fighting for the right kinds of policies, the polling numbers back up those arguments that we're trying to make. So right now, we can walk out there and legitimately say when we're going to visit with somebody, the numbers are turning against the president, and we need to toss fuel on that fire while it's happening in real time. And the polling numbers allow us to do that. Does that make sense? Yeah, absolutely. Always be peaceful at the protest, guys. We know from some of the reporting that's been done over the last month that they're intentionally sending people out into these crowds to try to get folks to throw punches and these kinds of things. Don't fall for that. Find the closest law enforcement person, tell them what they're doing, and get them out of there. Carl, I think you're 100% correct. And somebody made the point over here on TikTok, the protests do give other people courage. I think, and if I could be so bold, I think the fact that I came out here as just a regular guy making videos in the beginning, I think that's given other people the courage to make videos. And now we're sharing those videos, and their words being broadcast out there are encouraging other people to tell their stories. So I think that's really, really incredibly important. Drew, I appreciate that. I did, I thought I knew somebody that had some contacts at the Bulwark, but nothing came of that. I'm sure over time we might get that opportunity, but to all of you out there that may have contacts at different media sources, nobody's talking about rural America policy right now. And we don't just talk about farming, guys. We talk about all of the policies that are important to rural America: infrastructure, uh, rural education, rural healthcare. We've got, just in Missouri alone, we've got 64 rural hospitals that could close over the next year and a half, 2 years. Those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. Good, strong rural policies to save rural America. That's awesome, Cindy. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. I'm from St. Louis. How do we collaborate to get the word out in the city on what's going on with farming? Direct people here. That's one way to do it. Direct people here. We're going to be adding resources about farming and rural policy to the C4 website, which I'm hoping is going to come up later this week or next week. And just bear with us, guys, because this is all grassroots, paid for out of our own pocket. So, if we had $3 million behind us, we could throw this stuff up in a week and there'd be no problem doing it. But we're doing all of this with volunteers and paying for it out of our own pocket. Doughboy, if you know how to get us in there, get us in there. 100%. I would love to have a sit down with Rick Wilson. You probably couldn't wear boots tall enough to keep the bullshit from going down in your pant leg if Rick Wilson and I were sitting in the same room together. And it's funny because at one time he and I were on opposite side of the fence from each other. Yeah, no, I'm not getting any money from Trump. But thank you. I needed a laugh. I appreciate that. Hey, CC, good to see you. Good to see you. We are Tennessee Horses. We are. We've got people that reach out to us on a regular basis. I mean, I wish it was 200 a week. It's not. It's 3, 4, 5. But I'm going to take what I can get right now because we don't have a huge voice right now, but we're still impacting. You know what I mean? So imagine when we're out there talking to 300 people, 500 people at a time, and we're going to different cities and we're getting on television and radio programs, etc. Hey, CC, it's really good to see you. We still got to do something, CC. We got to get that figured out. No issues with New Jersey farmers, except that I want them to vote the right way. I want them to not vote against their best interest. That's what I want. It's that simple. Vic and I, we know each other, Biltane. We collaborate. We know each other. I'm hoping that we're going to see each other out on the road. I'm looking forward to making that happen. But Vic is a good guy. You're absolutely right. Beltane, have her do a submission on the website. Would love to talk. Yeah, Mark, I've worked with the Missouri Agroforestry Department before. They're good people. They're good people. Hey, thanks for the compliments. I appreciate that, guys. I really do. I really do. Tennessee Brando is another podcaster from a rural area that shares your views. That's great. We need as many of us. Listen, guys, I'm not one of these creators that wants to hog rural America for myself. I say it all the time. We need a lot of people talking about rural America. It's not about the only thing that I'm concerned about when it comes to getting more followers and more clicks is that it allows us to get our message out more. And that's why we work so hard to get other voices in the back 40 uh, out there, to make them public, to get people listening to the Susies and the Sleepy Mamas and the Jills and the Cece's of the world, because they've got excellent stories to tell as well. So that's how deep my concern about clicks and follows goes. If we're not using it to spread the word and to get other stories heard, then we're not using it the right way. So anytime I see something like that there's somebody in Tennessee that's talking about rural issues, um, that warms my heart. SAVE Act is horrible. I mean, listen, the SAVE Act is absolutely horrible, and shame on those 4 Democrats that voted for it. We're doing everything we can in this country in terms of Republicans in the executive branch and the Republicans in the House and Senate to make women second class citizens in this country. And for the women that have fought for 30 years or 100 years or 150 years or since the inception of this nation to stop that, and for all of us men that have been out there having their backs the entire time, it pisses us off. And we're not going to stand by and watch it happen. And I'm telling you, when it comes to that, when it comes to all this voter suppression, quote unquote, legal voter suppression that's happening out there, might be some time for some, well, aggressive non-collaboration. Let's just say that. Aggressive non-collaboration. Little bit of civil disobedience goes a long way. Angie knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, 100 years plus, Gladys. Yeah, FEMA cutting off the funds. Go pound sand, North Carolina. You got everything you're going to get. We don't care. If you haven't recouped, if you haven't restarted your business, you haven't fixed all that flooding on your farm that cost you your row crop ground and all the grass where your cattle eat, too bad. Just imagine how much hell this administration raised before they came into office about the one FEMA worker who did the wrong thing and said, we shouldn't be helping people that voted for Trump. That was wrong. I stood up and said it was wrong, as did most of you. And now what are they doing? They're just telling everybody in Western North Carolina, piss off. Fix it on your own. We're not going to do any more matching funds. Yeah, yes, I have. I've talked to Miss Jess, and we need 500 of her. We need 500 of her. Greetings from rural Minnesota, Montana. We may be coming your way too, Jewel. We may be coming your way too. All right, guys, listen. I want to say one more time. If you're interested in participating in the Back 40, I want you to go to www.theback40official, all spelled out.com, and I want you to sign up there to get updates from the Back 40. If you want us to come speak where you are, put in a request for that and then jump on board with us. Jump on board with us to help us plan for it and get people there, and we'll be there. But go to www.theback40official.com today as soon as you get off this live and go sign up. Okay? Do me that favor today. We can't get the word out without your help. You've gotten us to where we are now. I'm asking you to go further. I'm asking you to go further with us. Okay? We need Gladys took the words right out of my mouth. We need farm hands. We need you to become a farmhand. Okay? Need you to become a farmhand. Thank you for everything that you do. Go to the website, sign up. If you know people out there that are part of these larger media organizations, they're starving for reporting on rural America, guys. And everybody we've talked to has not been disappointed about the knowledge and the expertise that we bring to the table. So tell them about us. Let them know we're here. And every time I do an interview, I call out the back 40. It's not about Will. It's about the back 40. It's about people in rural America. I'm going to give you credit for as long as we do this, because without you, we wouldn't be here. It's that simple. It's that simple, guys. It is that simple. All right, remember, our next live is this Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're here in Missouri fighting the good fight, Central Standard Time. We're going to be here from 6 to 8 Central Standard Time on Thursday. We're going to do it the same way we did it tonight. And remember, this Saturday, our first event that we're going to be at is this Saturday in Jefferson City at the Missouri State Capitol. Come up there. Come up to me. Give me a shake my hand. Pat me on the back. I want to meet you farmhands out there when we're going out and about. I really want to meet you there. So come up and say hi. Let me know, hey, Will, I'm a farmhand. And we're going to do everything we can, guys, to continue to get the word out. All right, everybody. I love you. Stay strong. Keep fighting the good fight. If you're a person of faith, regardless of what your religious denomination is or your persuasion, or if you're a spiritual person, I'm asking you to say those prayers and put up those good words for Mr. Garcia and his family and all the other people that have been caught up in this nonsense. Just imagine where he's sleeping tonight when you lay your head down on your pillow. Let's keep fighting the good fight because it's tangible. What we're trying to do is tangible, everybody. And you're a part of it. And you're a part of it right here on the back 40. Keep it up. All right? Keep it up. It's great to talk to you guys. I'll see you Thursday night, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. And everybody keep fighting.